Hong Kong mobile operator CSL is one of the earliest adopters of LTE technology, and their new network has already rolled out. But it is bringing some new challenges to the company. And today I have with me Mark Liversidge, who is the CMO, Chief Marketing Officer of CSL, to help me understand their situation better. Mark, welcome. Good to have you here. How do you see CSL, and in fact any other mobile service provider, actually moving away from the now traditional pricing and subsidy models that we seem to be stuck in?
I think this is a critical area to be addressed by the operators. We have been in a marketplace for a very long time now, where frankly we are doing a very effective job at sustaining and supporting the business models of the device vendors with the subsidy model. And we've got to a point where a consumer will walk into an electronics store and quite happily pay hard upfront cash for a camera, for a television, for online services. But then when it comes to packaging all of those things in one amazingly small device, we've conditioned them to expect that for free, effectively subsidized by us, the operator, in order for them to grant us the right to provide them the access to the content they want to experience on that device. We need to, in my view, focus on the younger generations, the digital drivers, who in my terms are the people under 28. These are people who are not conditioned to being locked in to decisions. They are not, we're already seeing in our marketplace, comfortable with committing to 24-month contracts, for example, which is the classic subsidy model. They want the right to move around. Their decision to provide you with their loyalty is based on the experience that you serve them with. I think this presents the operators with a fantastic opportunity in the future for moving away from the subsidy model and saying, we will sell the devices in our retail outlets, but it will be based on a fair value and a real value exchange for that device. And then separately, but in association, we'll sell both our network and the content, again, with a fair value. Again, based on continual delivery of expected customer experience.
Of course, you've raised issues about the customer experience. Who do you see as responsible for the customer experience?
So this is the singular biggest question, I believe, for mobile network operators and broadband operators in the coming years ahead. We, in the most part, are all still established on a business model that's based on 10 years ago, which was when we had candy bar phones, we made voice calls, we had voicemail, and we all got excited about SMSing. Very, very simple experience that is singularly owned by us and that we can track and trace. 10 years later, as we enter this next decade, the world has shifted. We're no longer mobile network operators or mobile phone shops, as many people describe us. We're actually broadband providers. We're the smart enablers of access to content. But again, back to the younger generations who are going to be our consumers of the next 10 years, they aren't willing to fall into the old model that we had when we first got to data, which was the walled garden scenario, where we controlled the content and we controlled the access to the content. So it's the biggest question, which I certainly don't have an answer for right now, and I don't think the industry has an answer for right now, but it's the one that, as an industry group, the operators need to come to a clear position of understanding, and the ones that get it right, I think, will have a direct competitive advantage in the future. Where that line crosses of ownership is hugely debatable. And part of it, I believe, will again be driven by consumer. My honest belief is that if you can take total responsibility, there will be a value from the consumer's perspective in that, and there will also be a loyalty from the consumer's perspective in that. They don't want to be chasing around, as we've all experienced, when something goes wrong. Is it, do I call my network operator? Do I call the device vendor? Do I call the source of the content? They just want to make one single call and know that that person has the capacity and knowledge to understand where the issue is driven from and resolve it quickly.
You made the comment that content has lost its value. What did you mean by that?
I think it's very fair to say, if you look in the media world across the piece, YouTube type platforms are enabling people to consider things free. They don't want to pay for it. You then look at music, and yes, we've all seen that Places like the iTunes Store from Apple are clearly providing a new model for the business of the music industry. But in reality, that music industry's revenues is still of only a few percentage points from that side. And in fact, Apple's revenues are only a few percentage points from the music industry. So in those terms, we really have to look at how do we work together between the content and media companies and the network operators to come up with a joint value proposition that means the consumer is willing to pay incremental revenues moving forward and provide us with margin for sourcing content and experiencing that content in an enriched way.
Do you think the media companies have woken up to the fact that providing content for, say, mobile devices over LTE is going to be a new requirement? Are they gearing stuff for that market, do you think?
I think so. I think a number of the media companies have switched on to the fact that the old models are dying. You know, the days of if you have entertainment content, it's about television channels and selling into channels and syndicating are dying. You know, we're moving again down the model where it's on demand. We're already seeing it through the various established delivery mechanisms of the satellite and cable television, and clearly the mobile broadband networks will provide more flexibility for the end consumer. They're not tied to a fixed location to access this information and content. They are not tied to watching it in a single location at one time and then going somewhere else and watching again. They can take it both mobile, fixed, or from movable locations.
Mark Liversidge, CMO from CSL, thanks for being with us.